Okay,
I
so
might,
now we're pretty
I
much
might do some, I might do some deep time, depending on how dry the summer is around the end of June. Comes around, it does some deep time, but that doesn't hurt the bowling. You can get on the green right away.
okay.
Okay.
We probably should be ready to begin now. Actually, hang on. Let me just interrupt here. Hang on a
You
second.
got, yeah, you got a big echo there.
All
Where
right.
do you get your deep times from, Charlie?
Okay. So, before we go on, Charles, I think you wanted to begin with presenting topics and then
Yep.
get into questions. So, okay, everyone, I know you have tons of questions, but what the format we're going to use actually today is members of the Greens Committee will present on different topics and talk about different things, and then we'll kind of do questions about those areas after that, and then have general questions at the end. We have a full 2 hours, so we have like a lot of time to do various areas. Before we begin on this, I'll do my brief commercial. If you're a 70-year-old who's pushing around the greens mower in 35-degree heat, maybe you'd rather have a 20-year-old do it. Get your club to get a Canada Summer Jobs Program employee that you can get for free, okay, to use as your labor during the summer. And if they haven't done it for this year, then have them contact me and we'll set that up for next year. But again, it's always nice for you to be able to tell somebody how to mow your green as opposed to actually mowing the green yourself. And it gives you another potential bit of labor to use. So now, Charles, who did you want to have talk first?
Well, I'm gonna say a few things first. Something is very important. It doesn't seem very important right now, but it is very important. What I would do for the people, for the new greenskeeper or the one that haven't done it, the first thing I would do right now is make a plan. How are you going to attack your green? What are you going to do? And one of the smartest thing to do is you keep a log of every day of what you do on the green. Then next year there'll be no question. All you have to do is look at your notes, and you know exactly what you're doing. Like for instance, I'll check back to last year. I started my log on April the 4th. Well, on top, I got the temperature. It was a high of 6 degrees, low of 0. The weather condition was cloudy. Club activity, no club activities. Green treatment, cut both greens at 250.0250. Took 2 shoulder load of clipping, and we rolled both green. That was the day. So I don't have to guess. I just look at this, and I know exactly on April the 4th this is what it did. And then the next day we ordered the fertilizer. Then on the 6th we got the vertical out, got it started, made the adjustment and everything. So that's one tool that doesn't take much time, but it's very.
Not hearing you second. In case you're not hearing you second, be a good log part for these two.
Yeah.
So there's no guessing. You know exactly what you're doing.
Okay, we're having a little. Okay, I'm just going to mute one of the 5.
Okay, are we clear with that?
Yes.
Okay. Like right now, well, you cannot get on the green. Most of our green will be too wet, but it's a good time to get your equipment out of the tool shed, check them out, make sure they're sharpened. If you need sharpened, take them out, because next month all the golf course and everything will be out getting their lawnmower sharpened. Order your fertilizer. And one thing that I noticed, and that a lot of complaint for last couple of years, but mostly last year because we had a dry summer, is localized dry area. And I would suggest that we get ahead of the curve by ordering some wetting agent, and come June, first part of June, around the 15th of June, spray your green with wetting agent, and that will help the situation. I know it's a little expensive, but I think it's about $600 a jug, and the jug will probably last you for the summer.
Can anybody buy that?
Huh?
Can anybody buy that?
Yep. Yeah, it's just what it is. It's a soap. It's a very concentrated soap. If you got time and if you got a garden hose and you can get a big chunk of Sunlight soap, dishwashing soap, and do it yourself, it's just as good. But you got to do it more often.
So what's the name of the product that you use?
The one I've been using is called OARS, OARS, and there's another one. There's another one called Primer. But I have used both, but I think that I was more satisfied with the OARS.
I know. I'm stupid.
Where did you get it?
I don't know. Yeah.
I got the OARS at Ontario Seeds. Yeah, I think they're in Kitchener, and I think it's the other one. I think it's a Turf Care. Whatever. They're in here in Burlington somewhere. They're pretty well the same price, and they usually do both good job.
Now, Charles,
Okay,
did you want to take
Yeah.
questions on your section, or did you want to have another member of the Greens Committee present?
Well, I think what's his name was going to present. Ted, have you got something ready?
Charlie, I wanted to talk about something that is a little more long-term than opening in April.
Hard to hear you.
Because,
Ted.
we've got years of sand. It's like 50 years of sand. It goes down 3, maybe 4 inches. And I'm trying to, I've started a process of trying to raise the value of that soil or sand so that the root system can develop a little bit better and a little deeper. And I'm running into some major cost factors because the city has stopped subsidizing us, and so last year it cost us $2,600 for the product, and they aren't going to do that this year. So that my plan is a little bit longer range than spring, and I started it a year or so ago, and I expect to continue it for another 2 or 3 years before I get the kind of green I'd like. So on a more immediate basis, we've got some trees surrounding our green, mainly maple trees, and the roots are reaching into the green itself. And I've got to get rid of those roots and either reseed or resod. And I don't know of a lot of people who are doing resodding, but they do a lot of reseeding. But even the seeding, a bucket is now somewhere in the vicinity of $500, $600. Now, it lasts the entire season, but it's a sizable amount of money. Got any thoughts on that?
Yeah. When you say you're trying to add something to the soil, I think what you're saying that you don't like the sand base. There's nothing, as far as I'm concerned, the sand base green roots will be deeper than the soil. Like for instance, the one in Kitchener, it's totally built on sand. It was built no soil, just sand, and they have no problem growing grass. Their greens are beautiful. So I think the people have the problem with shallow roots is too much watering. If you water your green every day, the roots, they don't have to work. They don't have to go down to to get to the water. It's right there. All you got to do is wait 24 hours. You're going to give them more water. So they don't have to work their way to. And it's a living thing, and then we'll go. But for instance, if you were watering your green every day, and you decide I'm going to change it for every 3 days, and you're going to make sure that at 6 inch deep, you got moisture, and that's where it counts. Like the moisture on top will not help your green whatsoever. All you got to do is slow your green down. It's the water that gets down to the 6 inches that will help you. If the water is staying at 6 inches, the roots will go for it. Then you'll have strong roots, strong grass, and you'll save yourself money by not watering that much. But when you water, you got to make sure that the water gets to the depth that you want. If it stays on top, it's just going to create havoc. It's going to give you disease, it's going to slow greens, and shallow root. Every time you dump a bowl, you're going to take a divot.
Jan,
Charlie?
also wanted, no, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to call
Okay. Thank you. The one thing you can do, and Cannington did this some years ago when we were rehabilitating our whole green, was there was 1 year, you can order it from Pedersen's. It comes down from Aurelia, and it's USGA approved sand. It's an 80-20 mix. Sand is 80 and humus is 20. And often when a new green is put in, they will start a green with that mixture and then move entirely to sand a year or two later. So that's one option, and it can be ordered from Pedersen's. In Uxbridge, it comes down from Aurelia. They'll do the mix for you. In terms of the tree root issue, we had that in a major way again in Cannington. We rented a trencher for 2 days, and we trenched all the way around 3 sides of the green. So if you have room to run a trencher, you can do that, and that'll stop the roots right there. If it opens up enough of a channel, you could put in some sort of landscaping barrier. We have, in fact, we have a root in our green this year that we have to take out. And it's come in down through the ditch and then up into the green to the point that actually the mower is catching the top of it. And what we do is we simply take out a narrow channel of about 6 inches, open that up, get a reciprocating saw, and cut off the end, and then it can't grow anymore. We're going to do that at the end of the green where the root is, as well as in the ditch. And that's a process we've used. This will be the 3rd time because we have a fair number of trees in the park, and over time they come in. That is a very simple solution. So if you can trench, then around the whole thing, you've solved your issue. If you can't, then you can use the reciprocating saw. You're only taking out about a 6-inch path. Put sand and new seed in, and if you want, you could put a little bit of humus in there too.
Jan, how deep did you trench?
With a machine,
Yeah.
we had to go down quite a bit. It was probably 3 or 4 feet because of the nature of the trees around the green.
Right.
So we had a major job to do in terms of doing all that, avoiding all the electrical and water lines.
Yeah.
And the trencher just puts the dirt back up into a hill on the side, and then you just push it back in. So it was a major, major undertaking, but it certainly did help us solve the problem.
And you did that off the green, not on the green.
No, yeah, you do it in the perimeter. You don't trench the green because when you trench, well, you'd be there all year. When you trench it, it cuts the roots that are tending to come in, and then you've just got maintenance issues like we do. Like we'll be working on a root this spring. It'll take maybe 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure
I
enough.
think we have.
Okay,
we
going
have
back to
Well, David actually wanted to hop in here as well. David?
Oh, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we're not getting sound from you, David. You're not on mute, but maybe your microphone's not turned on, or you need to turn the volume up. So
He's on mute.
actually, you
Can't
don't
hear you, Dave.
Okay, we're not getting it. Sorry, we'll have to come back to you, Dave. Just check your sound setup. Okay, go ahead, Charles.
Okay.
No offense, Charlie, but are we going to have a question and answer session, or are we having presentations from various members of the Greens Committee?
I didn't quite get what you were saying, so.
Well, in any case,
My
apologies.
My understanding is we're going to just give you short presentations and then we go to questions and
Yeah,
answers.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, what I was on about getting your equipment ready. If you never had your green tested, get some and send to a lab to see what kind of soil you have or what the soil need to grow some nice turf. I think that would be a good thing to do. Get maybe 2 or 3 plugs out, send them to the lab in Guelph. I think there's one in Guelph and then one in Ancaster. Or take it to your fertilizer dealer and see if they can do something for you. If you buy some fertilizer from them, usually they'll say okay, and they'll send them away. Otherwise, it'll cost you about $125. But if we keep putting fertilizer on, and we don't know exactly if it need that type of fertilizer, it's just like going to, trying to treat yourself when you're sick. You don't know exactly what you need. But if you send some samples, core sample, and they'll come back and they'll tell you exactly what your soil needs. Okay, that's, and when I said after we mowed the green the first time and we verticut, the concern is, depending on what you did last fall, if you top dress your green, if you didn't verticut your green and you top dress your green, that sand is going to stay on top of that tire. So when you're going to verticut this spring, that sand hasn't gone anywhere, still staying on top, and it's going to wear out your blade like you wouldn't believe it. After you finish your green, your blades are pretty well gone, and you haven't touched the tires because all you did was touch the green. So, like I said, if you didn't verticut properly in the fall and you top dress, it's going to be probably before the end of June when you see some result. You can get back to that thatch because it's all laying there. You might have to go a little deeper. The only thing that's happening, you're bringing up the sand that you put in last fall. So you put it last fall, you're going to take it away this spring. So you just wasted your time. But that's another subject for next fall. You got to make sure you give it a good verticutting before you put your sand down. Okay. Irrigation. I think starting next week, come April, I think you should get your irrigations going because the climate is changing. Like last year, we had a really, really dry May and June. Actually, it was so dry last year because I don't like to name some green, but Oshawa, the city didn't want to turn their water on. I think they only turned them on in June sometime, and they just about lost their green because it was dry. So you gotta make sure that you get your water system going. You might not need it. I hope you don't need it, but if you need it, it's there for you. Okay, that's about all you can do. Like as far as mowing, like I said, don't take any more than 1/3 off. After you third or first cut, get your roller, give it a good roll. Then you can verticut. Then you fertilize. Let the fertilize set in 4 or 5 days, whatever it is it needs for. So when next cut, you don't want to take your fertilizer off. it's all melted and it's going down to the roots. And after that, you can start lowering on your second cut. You can lower your lawnmower until you get to what you want. And the type of fertilizer that I've been using since about 3 years ago when I sent some sample, it came back that it said that I needed some 12-30-08 for the first application, and that's what they call the micro one. It's very, very fine, so it doesn't take long to disappear. And then for the rest of the year, for June and July, like I said, I use liquid fertilizer, and it's 14-2-4. And I think you put about a 1.5 liters per grain. But then the one you use later on in the fall, or if you want to go to granular for June and July, I get 18-2-18, 97% natural juice, but it's also micro, Nutrite. And it seemed to work pretty good for what we have in Burlington. It might not work for you guys, but I don't think you can go wrong for that. Because come June, July, and August, you don't need that much nitrogen. Nitrogen will create tash. You need the nitrogen. The nitrogen is like if you have a train, nitrogen is the engine. You need everything else behind, but the nitrogen will make the rest of the fertilizer work. So you need some, but you don't need as much. Okay, I think that's about all I can say about opening. But if you cut your grain from now until opening, now we're going to be opening the first week of May, so I got less than a month to get going. But before opening day, I will verticut at least twice.
Twice?
Yeah. Maybe more, but I'm planning. My plan is to verticut twice. If it's the growing season and the weather is warm and it's nice growing, I'll probably do it another time. But by opening,
Charles, do you have a thatch problem on your green?
everybody, if you got bent grass, everybody got thatch in your green. If you got no grass, you got no problem. But if you got grass, you're going to have. If you got turf like bent grass, the nature of the beast, it will develop thatch.
Okay.
What it is the roots. The roots are growing. They're shooting, and then they die. Okay, and that's what causes your thatch. It's not your clipping, or it's just the roots and the stolon that are dying that are creating the thatch.
And how often a year do you verticut? 2 to 3 times a year?
Oh, about 10 or 12, maybe.
10 or 12 verticuts a year?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The first time in the spring, I go, quite heavy. But then as your thatch sort of decline, you keep raising your blade. So you don't want to disturb too much the root, like in June and July when it's nice and hot, because you're going to hurt the grass. So you more or less like give it a little tickle. You just, bring it up, thin the grass a little bit. I try to do it every 2 weeks.
Okay. I think we have Jan with a hand raised. Jan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Is David on? David Jeffries?
He was.
Yeah, he
Okay,
exited
well,
and
David.
re-entered because he wanted to restart the microphone.
Oh, okay. Well, David had mentioned our last time around online like this about using, is it carbide blades on the verticutter that last longer?
Yep.
Okay, so there's a hint for you if you need to replace your verticutter blades.
It depends what kind of verticutter you have. I was talking to whoever got the little verticutter in Markham,
Yeah.
Yeah, he has designed a new set of blade that lasts longer. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try them this year.
But I recommend that. Um, Ted, are you with us?
Yes,
Okay. I just want to get back to you for a second. How big is the green in Richmond Hill?
30 meters by 30 meters.
30 by 30. So it's not 120 by 120. All right. Where do you get your sand?
I had been getting it from Huntsville,
Oh,
Hutchison.
okay. So you're
but I
playing
haven't,
your
but I
pet.
haven't put
Yeah.
down much sand for 3 years now.
Okay. That's a long delivery charge. Maybe you could comparison price with Pedersen and
Is that
how much
Pedersen or Federson?
Pedersen, Pedersen, Pederson in Uxbridge.
Okay.
How much do you order?
Usually by the bag.
Oh my gosh. Do you have a place? That's super expensive. Whitby had to do that one year.
Yeah.
Do you have a place where you could bring in a dump truck and just dump it?
Yes.
Okay. Then I suggest that you look at purchasing 8 metric tons. That'll get you through 2 years with the size green you have. And it shouldn't cost you more than $900 or so a delivery, with delivery.
Okay, because
If you come from, yeah. So price it between Huntsville and Pedersen's. They're both USGA approved.
okay.
What type of sand do you use, Jan?
Well, if it's USGA, it's a very fine sand, and it's already been gone through the approval process. There are no stones or pebbles, and the content is good mineral content without too much zinc or magnesium, I think. And I've used it for years. And 8 metric tons for a green your size, Ted, will get you through 2 years. So you should be able to save some money on that.
Hutchison, I think, was charging almost $700 just to deliver. Never
Yeah, I
mind.
know, yeah.
No. With
Delivery
Huntsville or Peterson, the delivery's around $50. But the rest is product, and you have it for 2 years.
But you don't want to put too much sand on your green right now.
No. No.
That's for next fall. Yeah.
Yeah, for the fall, not for now. I just wanted to get that in before I forgot it.
Okay,
Hey,
thanks,
Jan,
Jan.
if you want to send me the name and the phone number of this guy, I'll give him a call.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
do
sure
that.
I paid a lot more than that. Okay, now, is there any question that anybody wants to know about what should they do to get your green ready for opening day?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Ted Stewart. You mentioned the type of fertilizer. Is there a particular brand that you like to use?
I get mine from Ontario Seed. They've been very good to me. They're the one that take the samples and no charge to me. And so anyway, every spring, like next week, I'll be putting in an order. And let's see, the name of it is Nutrite. Nutrite.
Nutriete?
Nutrite.
Okay. And you said it's micro, so it's a very small granule?
Yeah.
Yeah, very fine.
Okay, thank you.
They usually deliver for free because they deliver at golf courses.
Oh yeah, they deliver all over the place. No. Yeah.
That's Ontario Seed, Charlie?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
And if you
What does that end up costing, Charles?
I think they're, if I remember correctly, I think it's about $60 a bag.
Yeah.
So I use
And what does one green require?
one bag.
So $60 for
Yeah, we'll do one green. Yeah, and you're good for a month.
Yep.
Charles, could you speak to the pros and cons of liquid versus granular?
Personally, I like the granular myself. Like if I could use granular, I would use granular all the time. But because we're so busy and like we have, I think 15 tournaments during the year, plus a club championship and the district, and I can't. We can't. If I was gonna fertilize, let's say for instance on Saturday afternoon, I would right now, and there's nothing on Sunday, so I would water on Saturday, water the thing in. Sunday, watering in again. Monday is fairly slow, so I would water it again. So I water it for 3 days just to melt the fertilizer. And then Tuesday I got to cut because we got a tournament, so 4 days. But if you have a tournament in between Saturday and Sunday, I can use the granular. With the liquid, you need pretty well a spray tank. I got a spray tank that holds 50 gallon and 200 feet hose with 6 feet boom on it, but I think 6 nozzle, and it's about a foot off the green, and it just sprays. So I get the whole green, but you have to go one way, then go across. So it takes you about 2 hours to do one green pretty well with the spray. So when I got to use one tank for the south green, another tank for the north green, and it's a lot of work. And you have to do it every 2 weeks. The granular you only do it once a month.
But you can bowl on it within a couple hours.
Oh yes, as soon as it dries up, you can bowl on it. It doesn't matter. That's the
nice part about liquid.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the liquid, but it's more expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
McGregor's got his hand up.
Yeah, somebody. Any more questions?
Charlie, what do you do as far as leveling, spring or fall?
Fall. I do most of the work after we close our green. I usually work pretty well, study every day for 2 weeks. First thing we do in the fall, I'll just go fast on it so we wouldn't waste too much time, is first thing we do is verticut. We give it a good verticut, then we aerate it with half-inch hollow tine, take all the plugs out, top dress it with sand, pure sand, and then after we finish that, then I usually put over a seed on it. I might put 10, 15 pounds of seed all over the place.
Yeah.
Then we use a flex drag to sort of mix the seed in the sand. And after that, that's when we use a rigid drag. The rigid drag will take the sand off the high spot and deposit them in the low spot.
Okay.
A rigid drag, is that a special type of tool, or
yes, it is.
do you improvise?
No, you can make it. There's a picture of it in the new book that Guelph just made today, this year, and all the dimension is there. I got mine made about probably 15 years ago, and I think it cost me about $300, but it's worth it. Or any type of if you get just a steel angle or something that's solid, like that will drag the sand, that will take the sand off the high spot and put them in the low spot. It will work.
Okay.
I think we have Ted with his hand raised.
Yes, I do. You mentioned that you would put a bag of fertilizer on monthly. How big is this bag? Or weight? Or
Let's see. 20 kilogram.
Thank you.
And that's what the fertilizer company suggests we do.
Thank you.
Okay, Deb has raised her hand.
Yeah, I think there's a question possibly for you, Ralph. Someone mentioned the cost of all this stuff that you need to put on your greens. It is very expensive. I have actually applied a couple of times for grants to to see if they'd cover the cost of the sand and fertilizer and yada, 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 and had turned down each time. Ralph, do you know if there's any of the grants cover this kind of cost?
What they will do is that the grants will typically cover capital costs, but not ongoing operating expenses. So, for example, sand, green, fertilizer, it's all out. It's all excluded. But they will cover any significant equipment. It'll cover the blades. But the only way you ever manage to sneak in anything to do with general maintenance is if you did a full resurfacing of your green. So if you said that we're basically take off the top layer and we're going to put it down again, then that's a capital project. And so everything that contributes to that capital project could be included in a grant. But the other stuff, anything that is a daily expense, that's pretty much it. The only daily expense you can really offset is actually labor. Like you can use the Canada Summer Jobs Program to get somebody to basically to be an assistant for you, that sort of thing. But that's the only program that gives you anything that's sort of useful for daily use type of item. Very good.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I think we've got Gord with his hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. When you're dragging, you talked about dragging for high and low spots.
Mm-hmm.
Would you drag like both ways, diagonal, or how do you do that?
Straight up and down the green, both ways.
Okay.
The best way to find out if you got low spot on your green or is in the morning when the dew is still on the grass. You get the rigid drag or whatever drag you have, as long as it's solid, it will not touch the dew where it's low. It will only take the dew off. So after you finish dragging your green, you can go around and see, okay, there's a low spot here, a low spot there. Then you can put your sand on it and then re-drag it again.
Okay, thank you.
You don't want to leave a pile of sand. You just want to make sure that, in some place it might be down half an inch, but that would be too much sand. That would kill your grass. You just have to put enough sand, build it up gradually. But that's one way to find out.
Okay, thanks.
Somebody, I'll mention, we're going to get somebody to come down and laser level it. And that's fine. That's a great way of doing it. But they don't level your green. They just show you where the low spots are. And it's going to cost you $500. If you have a rigid drag or anything, you can do it for nothing, and you tell you exactly where those low spots are.
Yeah. Charlie,
yeah.
Charlie, if I may note to Gord, we've established low spots after a rainstorm. The water just collects in the low areas.
Yeah,
it's very effective.
Yeah, it does. It does in a way, but it's not. You could be in that area where also it's compact and the water will not drain.
That's correct. Yep.
So it's not really a way to measure it. There's no level green. Doesn't matter how good the greens are; they'll never be level. But if it's gradual, you get away with it. And you'll see if you see on a fast green, if your greens are running 14, 15 seconds, and there's not too many greens in Ontario that will do it, then you'll really see where the low spots are. Okay, because you'll have such a wide draw and it just come and it'll cut right across. So instead of gradually coming in, if it's level, they'll gradually turn. But if it's a low spot somewhere, they'll go, then all of a sudden, they're going downhill. It's easy. So on a slow green, you will not know because the grass will hold the bowl in this track. So you really can tell on a fast green if you're level or not.
We have another hand raised.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on the question of low spots and the rigid drag. You can do some of the remedial work during the summer, but what we try to do every 3 or 4 years is in the fall, we use the rigid drag and we chalk the low spots. and you'll see them because it's rigid, and anything below the bottom board is going to be open. So, and then we chalk the spots, and then when we do the top dressing, we can add a little bit there, and it has the fall and the winter to settle. So you could try that as well.
For the digitally inept, how do you put your hand up?
Say that again?
At the bottom of your screen, there's a little hand. You'll see if you're on a computer.
Ah, yes.
Then it goes like microphone, and then in the middle of it, there's like a little hand.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to this one. Do people have any questions about equipment? Do they have any questions about setting up your schedule? Diseases, things like that? Okay, we've got Edgar Hoover put his hand up.
Edgar Hoover? Yep.
Go ahead.
Edgar.
He's on mute.
Yes, you're muted. Okay. If you're on your screen, go to the bottom. You see a little microphone. You click on the microphone. There we go.
Sorry about that. We had, we're on city leased land, and we had 6 or 8 Austrian pines that they took down along one side of one green and similarly on our north green. So, I mean, that's totally changed our climate. Hopefully it has wiped out the problem of moths, but I'm thinking these are sand greens. I think we're going to have to use a lot of water this year because there's no shade to speak of.
Well, did you had a moss problem?
We had a moss problem when we had those 6 or 8 Austrian pines aside our greens, and of course the roots are out under the green.
Yeah. Yeah, well, moss is probably the lowest living thing in the world. And there's 4 things, but 3 that come to mind. It's lack of nitrogen, lack of sunlight, and too much water.
Well, we can cure the sunlight. The sunlight has been cured. It will get too much, and the rain the irrigation we can control.
You'll never get too much sunlight. Sunshine, you need the sun, and you need the water, but you need to control your water. And I know nothing comes easy. We like to have the automatic sprinkler come on every second day, but that is not good. What happens if it rains in between? Okay, so you're just wasting water, and you're not helping your green by putting that much water. Too much water is probably just as bad or worse than not enough water. Not enough water that you'll know your grasses are starting to turn color, and it's not a problem to get it correct. You just give them some water. But too much water, you don't know what you're doing to your green. The root rot is worse than anything else, and that's because too much water. It will rot.
Okay. Quick question.
And then you get.
Quick question, Charles. With your hydrometer, what reading are you looking for moisture in your green, and at what level?
Well, I got all I have is a cheap one. That's I think you buy it at the garden store for $19 to $12, wherever it is. And there's 3 readings. Red, that's dry. Like lighter green. Green in the second, and then the third reading is blue. Well, the first inches of the green should be red. It's dry. That's when you need it. The second part, down 3.5, 4 inches, it should be green. That's moist. At 6 inches, it should be blue. That's wet. and that's where you need the water. And it's easy to regulate. You can get some more expensive one and tell you exactly how much water you have, but there's no need for it. If you just stick it in the ground, they'll tell you right away what you need.
Okay. No, I
The
think
water got to be at the 6 inches. That's where you need your moisture.
I think we have John and Jan with their hands up, so maybe John first.
Yeah, John.
I just was going to ask about the moss and what's the best way to get rid of it.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The best way to get rid of it, if you're looking at patches, is spray it with like Dawn dishwashing liquid in water, and it will dry it out, and then you can just pick it up and take it off. So if you have smaller patches, you just walk the green and spray the area or the little bits that are needed. Following on what Charlie was saying, if you have in fact a major moss problem, you could probably do that to get it, somewhat under control. My question for can't remember who now, with their pine tree issue, pine bushes, whatever, is what you have at that side of the green, is it moss or is it the black algae mold? And if it's the black algae mold, then the 4 factors that help create that and sustain it, it grows, it'll eat up your green, are too much nitrogen, too much shade, compaction, and too much water. All right, so if you want to get that under the control, if it's the black algae mold, which I suspect it may be more so than moss, look at those 4 factors. The other thing, and we covered this last year, shrubs, pines are acidic, so they're putting more acid in than what turf grass will tolerate. And you just use agricultural lime on the affected areas, and that will sweeten it and it'll balance your pH. And you can get agricultural lime, bags of it, at any co-op store, as an example. 1 bag will probably do you. You put it on in a fine bit of layer. I think David Jeffries uses this. He can probably tell you more on how to do it if you have a larger space. But that's the product, and that'll put the pH back on track.
Thank you.
Hey, John, talking about the moss, there's a chemical you can get. It's called quicksilver. But I suggest you do it in the fall before your verticut and top dress and all that. Oh, yeah. That will kill all the moss. But the problem is when you kill the moss, you have bare spot.
Yeah.
So if you got lots, you're going to do it in the fall. That'll kill the moss. You verticut, aerate, top dress, and give it a good overseeding. And then next spring you would see a big difference.
Okay.
But if it's only a small patch, like what Jan said, is fine. Also, what I do is like if it's only a little patch here and there, I just take my plugger, take it right out, and put a plug of grass, and get rid of that. So that's what I do.
Hey,
Any more questions? Yeah.
It's Larry McClellan.
Oh, Larry, how are you?
I'm fine. I go to Canadian Tire, and they have a product what they call Moss Out, and I have good luck with it.
That's good. That's great to know.
Yeah, it's a liquid.
Yeah, that Quicksilver is quite expensive, but I know Ancaster in Hamilton, they got a brand new green. I think it's only about 5 years old, and they got it. They didn't seed it. They put sod on there. Hamilton sod, put the sod on. They look after the green for a year, and then I guess the city didn't look after them very well. And last year they called me to go over there, and they couldn't figure what was going on. And half their green was moss. It was just terrible. So anyway, so that was not last year, 2 years ago. So anyway, I suggest what I just told what to do, like put the quicksilver and do this, do that. They didn't do it. They didn't even aerate. They just put top dress over the moss. You should have seen the mess last year.
Yeah,
But
that doesn't work very well.
no, it didn't work.
Okay, Ted, you have your hand up.
Is that me?
Yep, whatever.
A question to Jan about the proportion of soap and water to kill the moss.
Yeah.
What's the ratio?
To be honest, Ted, I've never used a ratio. I kind of eyeball that one because I'm using a hand sprayer, so I could add water. But it isn't. It's more water than it is dishwashing liquid. That's all I can tell you. You know, and you can just play around a bit with the amounts, and you'll find the one that works for your green.
And the soap will not
That's
hurt.
a lot
the
of help, I realize.
Well, the soap will not hurt the grass.
No.
So if I have suds on the green, it's most likely too much?
Well, yeah, I've never had suds on the green, so unless it's beer, forget it.
No,
Might help the bowls slip a little better.
Yeah. Ted, go away.
All right, goodbye.
Can't lose on that one.
Yeah, I did want to add one thing since I talk too much, and I'm sorry, but I just do. It's all well and good for Charlie and me and Ted and David and Larry to outline these things and give you product suggestions and all of that. But we had a classic example last year in our district where all of the tutorials were given. And yes, and we had the greens really running well and looking great the year before. And last year, the knowledge was there, the information was there, and the work wasn't done. And it went downhill fast. I mean, it really did. So it's one thing for us to provide information and support and help and visit your club if you need that kind of help. But it's quite another actually to get the work done. And that's what Charlie was saying about the Hamilton situation. So knowing it is one thing, doing it is another.
The other thing, you can't control the weather. Like last year, I don't think we got 1.5 inches of rain all year. It went by us all the time.
I know, yeah.
And I mean, I had to water the hell out of the greens, and I still lost, got some bare spots. So
yeah,
weather is just something you can't control. That's all.
When it comes to greenskeeping, life is going to happen, and there's only so much of it you can actually control. But if you stay on top of things, it's easier.
One thing I would suggest is to all the greenskeeper is if we have another dry summer like we had last year, is keep an eye on your green. Like you'll probably see your greens there. You look at them and they're green, but somewhere in the middle, somewhere you'll see a patch maybe 2 feet in diameter that's changing color. Now, I can pretty well guarantee you that's going to be a localized dry area, and it will grow. It will grow to if you first notice it's about 1 foot. In about 3 weeks, it'll be about 4 feet. And that localized area, I don't know how it happened, but it's happening a lot more now because we're using a lot more sand. It doesn't really, it happened once in a while on the soil green, but the sand green is it's more prevalent on sand green. And if you ever notice one, all you got to do is take your electrical drill with a 1/2 inch bit or whatever it is or bigger and just put some holes in there
Yeah.
Just put some hole in that little area, and that will. And then you can put some soap water if you want, or wetting agent. But once you got the hole done, fill them up with water. Saturate that little area, and then you can put when the water drain, then you can put some sand in there, and it will come back. But if you don't correct that little area, everything will grow around it, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And the first thing you know, you have a problem. And it's only happening the last 5 years that I know of, about localized rare area. If you let them go, if you're going to take, you can take a big nail and hammer it to, and the first 2 or 3 inches, it'll go in beautiful. And then after that, it's just like if you were going to hit the cement. And you know there's no cement there, but that's the way localized rare area are. And if you don't break that up, that multiplies. So it's one
Charlie,
thing.
in the past, I used a pitchfork.
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
And did a beautiful job.
Yeah. I got my electrical drill with me all the time, and I see that I'll just put 5 or 6 holes in there, whatever it is. I'll big the area and just soak it. But you got to put hole. You got to get the water to break that up.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
First of all, dragging the greens through the summer has been recommended to take the dew off, which helps maybe to prevent some fungus diseases.
Yes.
Does that really make a difference?
Yes.
Dragging the green.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All the golf course, especially the high-end golf course, that's one of the things they do every day. They never leave the dew on the green. I know they'll say, it's because the golfer don't like to putt on dew, but that's not the reason. The reason is to eliminate the dollar spot. I was surprised. I went to a symposium in Guelph in February, and there was a professor from Ohio State, one from Michigan State, one from Massachusetts, and they were all talking about dollar spot and how the dollar spot are getting immune to what we're using. Like the Daconil has been one of the things for dollar spot, but the dollar spot now are getting immune to it. If you're going to use the same material all the time, it get immune to it, and it just at one time you put Daconil, you were good for 21 days or 28 days, apparently, from what I can gather, and now it's down to 21 days and 15 days. Now nowadays, if you were only going to use Daconil, that's the cheapest material you can. It only goes actually for a week. If you get a good rain, then it sort of disappear. And he suggests, every one of them suggested that what we do is, number one, is detach our green. Detach our green is half the battle. 50% of the problem is come from the thatch on the green. Number two, take the dew off. Every time it's dew on your green, take them off. And the third thing was, don't use the same material. If you use chemical, if you use Daconil, the next time use something else. Like, don't use the same stuff all the time. And
Charles,
don't mix them up.
Charles, I didn't quite catch that first point that you made before taking the dew off.
Or remove the thatch off your green. Vertical.
Remove the thatch. Okay.
Yeah.
Is DAC still available, Charlie?
Daconil, yeah.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
You need a license to get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I use Daconil. I've been using Daconil and what's the other?
Stress guard?
Yeah. No, Daconil don't have any stress guard. The other,
Well, there's a product we used 2 years ago called Stress Guard. That helped control it.
Yeah.
David, do you brush the green every morning? Disrupt the dew?
David's not there.
I'm not
Mr.
sure
Jeffries?
I think he had problems with his microphone and he may have exited. So It's probably a local issue.
Do you want to nod? Yes, okay. Thank you.
John will do the rest of this meeting by sign language.
Okay, taking the dew off. There's many ways to do it. We use a brush because I got a lot of people working on the committee, so they like to do it. Instead of having a walk in the park for an hour, they come and take the dew off the green, and that's good. But brushing it off is the first thing. You can use a water hose from one corner to the other. You know, put the water, and as long as you take the dew off, it doesn't matter what. You can put the sprinkler on if you want, but I don't like to use the sprinkler because sometimes the green don't need the water, and I don't like to get the grass, the turf to get used to having water every morning. So.
Okay. Now,
last year we talked. Sorry, Ralph. Last year we talked about one. It's the overnight dew point that where Dollar Spot begins to make its appearance. It's around 15 or 16 degrees overnight dew point, and that's when you get the heavier dew. And second, we talked a bit about just joining 2 push brooms and just dragging them behind you, and that's easy.
That's what I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do brush with a brush, and I did that a number of times last year, not every day. But what actually does that do? The brush just moves that dew off the edges of the leaves, but it just keeps it there.
It disrupts the it disrupts it, so it doesn't actually continue to spread or take hold.
So you're saying it's disrupting the mycelium that are
yeah, that's what it is.
What you're doing when you say take off the dew.
It's no good It's no good dragging your greens after the sun comes up. You've got to do it before they come up.
Well, as long as you can get the dew off before the sun dries it up. See what's happened that the reason they call it dollar spot is it looks like a silver dollar. You'll see it when you look at the green with dew on it. You'll see it. It's a cobbly little web type. It's about the size of a dollar, silver dollar. Like if you don't break that up and the sun dries it up, 2 days from now or a day later, you'll see it turn brown. And
you'll see it turn white. That web is a white.
Yeah, whitish.
And it's you know right away. Oh my God, we got dollar spot going.
Okay. I think we have Jeff with his hand up.
Yes. Has anyone tried dollar spot resistant seed? Overseeding each time with a dollar spot resistant seed?
When I was at Guelph, and I went to about I guess 8 session, and they're trying to develop a type of seed that would be resistant, but they haven't got to the point yet. But there was a guy from Minnesota, Dr. I can't think of his name, and they're in the process of getting the soil prepared for that. You know, it'd be an additive that we would put in the soil that would restrict all these disease, the brown patch and the dollar spot or something like that. And they seem to think that's going to be the way in the future, but it hasn't been designed yet. So, but that was very interesting. And not only that, this year was the first time that there was something especially for lawn bowling green. And I was amazed that Dr. Lyon, the professor at Guelph, had so much knowledge, because when I met him about 5 years ago, they had no idea what a lawn bowling green was. They had no idea. But, it was pretty hard trying to explain to them what we were doing. But he spent 6 weeks in Australia and New Zealand last summer, and lawn bowling out there is very popular. So when he came back, he was quite knowledgeable. I was surprised. So it was very interesting. So next year, when they have the symposium again, they have it every year. I would suggest that if your club can afford to pay for it, that you go and listen to them, because they're very knowledgeable. They're getting to the point that with all the control that the governments are putting in and the weather's changing and it's up to the point that they are worried because God knows how long we're going to be able to afford to keep our lawn bowling green going. Because everything is everybody's taking advantage of it. The chemical companies are raising their price. The price of fertilizer has gone pretty well 100% in the last 4 or 5 years, and it's they're worried. Everybody's worried in the industry, and we're not the only one. The golf industry is worried as much as we are.
I'm with Muskoka Lawn Bowling Club, and our green is actually on a golf course.
Yes, I know.
And the greenskeeper for the golf course also looks after our green, and I help him out. And he suggested we try a dollar spot resistant seed that he said he had good luck with on a previous golf course before getting to ours. So I told him to, get us a barrel and we'll give it a try with overseeding this year, wherever we get any dollar spot damage or bare spots. I'll overseed with the dollar spot resistant seed, and we'll see what kind of results we get. So we're going to give it a try this year.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah. I know they're working on it, but
I think I have Mr. McGregor with his hand up.
Yeah, under what seeding, overseeding, under what conditions or what circumstances do you seed or overseed?
I overseed in the fall. If you do it in the spring, like if you look at one of these seeds, you can hardly see it. It's so small. So when it starts germinating, when it comes out, it's just you can hardly see it. Now, if you were going to step on that, you kill it. It's dead. It's gone. But if you do it in the fall after you finish bowling, like say for instance, like we have 2 green and it's slowing down. So around the 15th of September, I can close 1 green and overseed it. And after we're finished with it, we don't step on it. We don't cut the grass. Maybe at the end of October, I might cut it if it's getting too long. So then it get a chance to grow. But otherwise, if you have a patch on your green and you're going to overseed it in the spring, and you'll see that it'll start growing. You can see it nice and green. But I can guarantee you, if you don't cover it up or stop people from going on it, the first guy on the green is going to walk on it, and it will die. So I rather, if I have to, I usually go to Hamilton Sod and get some. They have some sod. They can get a roll of sod for, I think it's $4 or $5 for a roll, and it's a cubic yards. It's just 2 by 5 or something, so you get 12 square feet for about $5, and I put that instead of the seeding. But make sure if you
can walk on it.
The sod right away.
No, the seeding.
Oh, the seeding when it's established, you would see it. Like for instance, when it starts growing and it's very fine, it'll the first thing you notice about an inch and a half tall. If I take some plugs out of the corner, then I will reseed it and I put a piece of burlap on it. Okay, when the grass starts growing through the burlap, I take the burlap off, and then I'll take I got an old hand push mower that I have, and that's what I use to cut. I'll probably cut it would be half an inch at a time, and I'll keep lower it down. But if you do it in the fall, you don't have to worry about it. You just let it grow and then cut it in the spring.
Yeah.
I think we have Ted with his hand up, and then Jan.
Yeah, thank you. Charlie, what is the temperature for seeding to create germination?
Between 45, 45 to 50 degrees, that's fine for seeding. It'll germinate. Colder than that, it will not die. It will stay in the grass, stay on the ground until the weather get warmer, and then it'll germinate, according to Guelph University.
What was that number again?
between 45 and 50 is fine to overseed.
Okay, so we're talking Fahrenheit. That's good.
Yeah.
Very good.
I hope we're talking Fahrenheit.
Yes. Yeah. You know, I'm 84 years old. You know, I'm still Fahrenheit.
Okay, so now we have Janice. She does the conversion in her head.
I know what that is, and I'm not telling.
About 14, 15, I would say.
Yeah. The one thing that I noticed at one club regularly, they were having some bare areas along the edge of the green, you know, where everybody stands and the bowls are stacked and they're walking around, the mats are down. And they faithfully, every time after a tournament, there was a guy out there with a small bucket of sand with seed in it. And he would go and put the sand and the seed in or down. And then everybody walked on it and it wasn't watered and there weren't any holes for the seed to go into. So I don't like to waste product. I don't recommend doing that. But as Charlie said, you know, if you can open up a few little holes with a pitchfork and use the sand and the seed just to get it in there and then rope it off. And my other notions, Charlie, tell me if I'm right about this. There's a point in the year where it just gets too hot and it's not favorable to new grass growing, new seed taking. Is that July, August time?
Yeah. After the 15th of June, all the construction people and all the landscaping will not seed. And they might, at one time when I was a young fella, I used to work for a landscaping outfit, and we never seed after June the 15th. Then we would start again on August the 15th. But now the weather's changing. August the 15th is still awfully hot. So now I would not bother putting seed on the green until September anyway. Jeffrey, David.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes. Welcome back.
Oh boy, that's great. You know, I had my earphones plugged in and it seemed to be cutting off the sound.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, anybody, you're doing a fine job.
Oh, geez. We're trying.
My apologies, but my hand up is not working. In any case, Edgar Hooper from the Thistle.
Yes.
We have a pail of compound for grinding reels, but we don't have a member that knows how to do it. I would consider donating that to any club that can use grinding compound.
Is it graphite?
Yeah.
We got it from Ontario Seed. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it would be graphite. Yeah.
Do you have a backlapper, Edgar?
No.
Okay.
The equipment and the personnel that could do this job are no longer bowling on this earth.
Okay.
I used to backlap our lawnmower, but I don't do it anymore. Well, we got 3 lawnmowers, so there seemed to be always one in the shop being sharpened.
Edgar, are you planning to have the mower professionally sharpened during the year?
Yeah, Turf Care does maintenance on our mowers each year.
Okay. Do they do it once or twice during the year as well?
No.
Charlie, what do you think?
Oh, I say at least twice. Every lawnmower should be at least sharpened twice a year.
Okay, I'll
make
the note, but
Yeah.
if you find anyone interested in the grinding compound, you know where to find me.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I don't think too many people knows how to backlap anyway. Talking about sharpening your lawnmower, if your lawnmower is not sharp or it's not set up properly, what it'll do, it will not cut your grass. It'll just tear it apart. It'll just tear it, and that will create some problem with the grass. That's when the disease get in there and everything. It has to be sharp, and it has to be the cylinder and the bed plate. When it turns, it has to touch pretty well. You take a very small piece of paper, like a thin piece of paper, and put it in between the bed plate and the roller. And if it doesn't cut it, you need to adjust it, make sure it cuts it, or it has to be sharpened, one of the two. So I don't know if I think it's especially the Toro. I think it says 24 hours of cutting, and 24 hours of cutting. That's quite a few cutting. You have to sharpen your lawnmower. You have to sharpen. It'll be dull. To cut a green, what does it take? About an hour to cut one green? So I figure twice a year. If you get your mower sharpened twice a year, you're doing okay.
Thank you.
Just to mention in passing is that if you're using, let's say, a New Horizons grant to get a new mower, if there's enough room in your grant, then you might consider picking up an extra set of blades just to kind of cut your costs over time. Now, if you're doing a Trillium grant, which is harder to get, the limit is higher. So again, you're not kind of restricted to, let's say, the $25,000. Then it's a lot easier to throw in extras. Also, if there are, I don't know if the companies who sell these offer maintenance plans on the mowers or verticutters, but if they do, if they offer maintenance plans, then that's a legitimate expense in a grant. So when you're doing the application, if you have the room, you could throw that in.
Yeah, Ralph, the tape we did, the little video we made last spring for adjusting lawnmowers is still on the webpage.
Yeah, it's still on the YouTube. We have a YouTube site, just look for Ontario Lawn Bowls Association, and you'll see a series of videos with Charles. And we can do future videos on different topics down the line, because there we were actually out on the green and going through different topics. But we can.
So you.
Yeah, it's all available.
You can see how to adjust your mower. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very important. Like, you know, I adjust our blade, I would say every second cut. I adjust my the cylinder through the bed plate, and that's how much it moves.
Every second cut?
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, you'll notice.
Now we have questions from Sutton and then from Gord Smith.
Ralph, could you repeat what you said about the Trillium grants? Because we have one.
Okay, well, if you've applied for it, because you can only spend on what you've applied for, but the if you're getting equipment, you can add on extras. You can add on extras like you can order an extra set of blades. You also, if there is a service plan for the machinery that you're buying, then that can become a capital expense if it's bought at the same time. Because if you get the person who's quoting you on the machine to bundle in the service plan, then it becomes a capital expense that you can have in the grant. And that works for both Trillium and for New Horizons.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Gord Smith?
Yes, Charles, I watched those videos on the YouTube channels.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a little tool that you use to measure the height of the cut.
Yeah.
Is that something you can get somewhere?
Yeah, it's a gauge, accu gauge they call it. I got mine at Slacks Reel. He's the one that serviced a lawnmower.
You can also order it on Amazon.
I'm sure you could. Yeah, I think.
Go directly to AccuGauge.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I think they're about. I thought they were very expensive. I think it was $250 for that. But
okay,
it's you should have some measurement, because if you don't know what the height of your cut, you're in trouble. You're going to be the grass is going to be too long or too short. I don't think you'll be able to guess properly. And that's the easy way to do it.
Or
yes,
we have one.
We
Do
have
we?
one of those schools, yes.
Oh, okay,
there,
Cheryl.
there you go. If you don't know, just ask your wife.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I've never seen it, so
Yeah.
I'll look for it when I'm out this year.
Yeah. Okay. But that's only one measurement. The other one, the other measurement on your lawnmower, it's like I said, it's your cylinder against the that bottom plate. They call it the bed plate or whatever it is. It has when it turns, you have to hear a little bit of grinding sound. So at least it's touching it. Otherwise, it's not going to cut. It's going to bend the grass. It's going to rip it. It's not going to cut it.
Yeah, we use the paper thing. We put the
Yes.
paper in and cut
Yes,
it.
that's yeah. If it cuts the paper, it'll cut the grass. If it doesn't cut the paper, it's not going to cut the grass.
Okay.
Any more questions? Ted has raised his hand.
Yes, I have. Charlie, in cutting the grass, they come with different numbers of blades. Some as often as high as 16 blades.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think I have 12.
Yeah.
Is there a difference that makes a difference for the green?
I could not answer that. That would have to be the manufacturer or something. I don't know. I already we have an old lawnmower and already changed the cylinder twice, I guess. But I put the same that was on, like the same from the manufacturer. So, but I know the cylinder itself. I think it's cost about. I think the last time was about $650 for the blade itself. So it's not cheap. But I know I heard there was some different blade, 12, 14, 16.
Yep. As low as 8, I think.
Is that right? Well, 8 would be a little gap in between, I would think, but
Okay. All right.
but I don't
Thank
know.
you.
I could not answer that.
Yep.
So we have Norman with his hand up. We're not hearing you. You're muted. You have to unmute yourself. It's down at the bottom, the little microphone symbol. There.
How's that?
Very good.
That's good.
Start with unmuting. For those of people who are questioning about the AccuGauge, they also make, as we're aging, which is our group that we're in, they also make now, you can buy from them, a little magnetic device that we add to it that holds the AccuGauge up between your drum and the roller where you're trying to measure. So if you're getting old and decrepit and don't want to bend over as much or have an extra body, it's worth investing in.
Well, that's
You
good.
can also you can also buy a digital one, which is easier to read.
That's
That
good.
was it.
The magnet one is good because it's
The
very
magnet one is that's great.
because you got to hold that thing with one hand and just
Right.
Yeah.
screw up the other. Yeah, that's
So I just wanted to make people aware of the fact a lot of people have an AccuGauge. Like somebody there said, oh, they weren't even aware that their club had one. But you may have one sitting in your shed somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Look for it, find it, and see if you've got a magnet. If you don't have a magnet, buy a magnet.
Yep.
Right, Charlie?
Yep, that's a good idea.
Okay, I'm mute.
Hey, I think we have John up next.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that we got a brand new lawnmower a few years ago, and they were supposed to set it up with the proper bed knife. There's 3 different sizes of bed knives.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get a tournament bed knife, it cuts much better than the other bed knives. I bitched about our lawnmower not cutting properly and wasn't cutting it short enough as far as I was concerned until I brought it to a different guy to sharpen it this year. And he said, well, it's no wonder you're not cutting. You've got a different type of bed knife, like it's a little higher. He put on the tournament bed knife, and I'll tell you, what a difference.
Yep, they will. Yep. The trouble is with the tournament bed plate, you got to make sure you don't have any stone in your green, because if you with the regular one, it'll put a little nick. It will not show, but this one, if it hit a little stone, it'll take a big chunk out of it. But it's worth it. And it's twice as much.
Do many people have a groomer on their mowers?
I do.
Does it make a difference?
Yes, it
St.
does.
Mary's
Oh,
does.
yes, that's a good thing. That's just like a mini verticutter.
Yes.
It just bring the grass up, and then your reel will cut it. That's a good thing.
Well, that's where the mower that had the bed knife, that was the non-tournament bed knife, and the groomer I didn't think was doing its job. Well, because of the bed knife.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think we have Lauren with hand up.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I just want to talk a bit about irrigation and the systems that some of you clubs have. We have a mix of Rainbird and Toro heads, and I assume most of you have the heads located halfway down each side of the green. The challenge, and the city of Pickering, bless their hearts, they pay for that part of it. The challenge I have is dealing with the company that looks after these heads. And so my question to you is, my challenge is trying to get them to adjust the heads properly, that they're irrigating the green from corner to corner as they operate. And the company that adjusts our heads just can't seem to get that done. And I'm just wondering if that's a common problem amongst other clubs.
Well, I can't say much about other clubs, but I put in the system back in early 2000, I guess. And at the time, we had the money, and I told the contractor that whoever was installing it that I wanted good heads on it. They're Rainbirds, and I saw the one they were using in Vancouver and the BC. They're the 4 greens, and them heads at the time were costing $400 a head. And on a good day, they will shoot 90 feet across the green, but they're guaranteed 70 feet on every head. And the guy that's looking after it comes in the spring, and turn the water on, he adjusts the head the way that it should be, and he does it probably in September. He'll come back and do it. And
I don't have an issue with the distance that the water is shot. That part is excellent. The problem is they can't seem to get that 180 degree
turning.
Minor adjustment.
Yeah, it should anybody that work with sprinkler system should be able to adjust that.
Well, I'm challenged with this company to the point that their argument that it's not watering the greens properly is because the heads are 11 inches above the grass. And I said, well, everybody lawn bowling club out there is going to have heads that are going to be above the grass. They're not level.
That's right.
I think this company is basically good at maybe looking after soccer pitches and baseball diamonds. But anyway, thanks, Charlie. I just wanted to know if I was serious enough with these guys, so I got to go back to them and press them harder.
Yeah, just tell them that you're not satisfied with it, and I'm sure they should be able to satisfy you. You're paying the bill.
That's my problem. Is the city is paying the bill. If I was paying the bill, they would no longer be doing the job.
Okay, I see where your problem is. Yeah. But keep after them. That's all they can do. That's the only option you have, is just get after them, and maybe you might get somebody one day that says, "Oh yeah, I see your problem," and set them up. It's just a setup, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Okay. I might ask the president of the company to give you a call.
Yeah, sure. I'll go with him. Him and I will go and visit your club.
Okay. Thanks, Charlie.
We have David, Jan, and Ted with hands up.
Okay, I was just going to say we've had our system in for like 25 years. I've probably changed every sprinkler head, but I adjust them myself. like there's instructions for them, and you're just a screwdriver or an Allen key, and you can adjust them.
Yep.
So I have 4 rows of 4 sprinkler heads, and I have no trouble covering the whole green, but I often have to adjust them. And you have to adjust them so that the arc goes 180 degrees on the side, and 90 degrees on the corners, and 360 in the middle. So I do it myself.
Well, I may be tempted to do that, and with the risk of getting my hand slapped, but I may do it.
Yeah.
Well, you're better to do it than asking permission to do it. Believe me. If you just go ahead and do it, and then they say something, "Oh, gee, I'm terribly sorry, I didn't know," you might get away with it.
Yeah.
Look at Ted's laughing there. He knows.
I am, because I went through what Lauren's talking about.
Yeah.
I had a company that I wasn't very happy with. The difference being is that we paid for it, not the city.
Yeah.
And surely there must be a way that we can say, in your case, Lauren, to the city, I want to change companies. They're going to get the same bill, they're going to pay the same money, but you get a chance to try something else.
Well, unfortunately, the irrigation company that looked after our greens originally, they let them go and brought this other company on as a money-saving arrangement, and hence that's my problem.
Okay.
So you're getting what you paid for.
Yep.
When I left the company that we had, Lauren, I had a friend who did the irrigations at my local golf course. And I paid him a couple of $100, and he came and spent, I think he was there 3 or 4 times. Everything went really well, and it worked out. We now have another company because he couldn't do it ever. He lived too far away, but he did it as a favor to me. So we go with a company named Boots now, and they also do they open things up for us. They close things down, and it's going extremely well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We also had Jan with her hand up. I don't know if we covered what you're looking at.
I'm now voting with David and with Chad and with Charlie. Allen keys and screwdrivers are great implements. Lauren, I don't know if that's an option, but if it is, do it and apologize later.
Thanks, Jack.
You bet.
The good theory is it's easier to get forgiveness than permission.
Yeah. We have Steve with his hand up.
Yeah, hi guys again. I have a question about the summer jobs program. How do we go about that?
Okay, now you can't do it for this year, but what happens is that when we hit December and January, the Canada Summer Jobs Program comes open. So it's not a complicated one to apply for. The first time I applied for it, having never seen it before, it took me half an hour. After that, it takes about 15 minutes. If you don't have a payroll number, that's fine. If they'll ask for a number, you can put in your corporation tax number or your incorporation number in there in the application. If you're an unincorporated, I think you might have to contact them and see, okay, how do I approach this? But even unincorporated bodies can have payroll. So you do the application, you basically say, I'm in this area. I want to apply for 1 or 2 summer employees. They don't have to be students. They can be anywhere up to 30 years old. They will cover $15 of, let's say, or whatever the minimum wage is in your province. They will cover the minimum wage in there. And if you want to pay beyond that, you do. And if you're hiring for greens, you may have to. You may have to go more up to 20 or something, but it's still cheap for you to do it overall. Now, they also will cover in there the cost of the employer section of CPP and EI, and they will also cover WSIB. So you are pretty much covered 100% for the costs that kick in here. Balmy Beach has had 2 employees in the course of the summer. James Gardens had 1 last year. because we're paying essentially the same amount each week, the paperwork for doing the payroll takes about 5 minutes a week. They have an online calculator that you can use. The payroll deduction rates tend to change at July 1st, so you'll change it once in the course of the summer. And again, it's about 5 minutes a week to do the payroll calculation. If you've never done it before, maybe it's 15. And you put it into a spreadsheet, you total it up. At the end of the year in February, when you have to do the T4s, you download the T4 forms, you fill it in. I was very careful this year because I hadn't done it for many years, and it took me about an hour. So that's really about the total amount of work. So overall, you might be looking at a couple of hours of work in terms of paperwork in the course of the year. To get a payroll number takes about 15 minutes, especially if you're already incorporated. You just call them up and say, I want to add a payroll account. And then boom, you're set. You will have to remit the payroll deductions once a month in the course of the summer, but again, it's no big deal. You get the form, you pay it at your bank, or you mail it off to them. So it's not a big problem to do it either way. Clubs get scared off by the paperwork, but when you take a look at it, it's really a huge savings for your club and also a big savings for the back of your greenskeeper. Now, the other thing, though, is that when you have an employee, you must supervise the employee, which means put them out there with no safety training. Go ahead, stick your hands in the blades, that sort of thing. You go out there and you show them how to do everything, and you make sure that they understand the safety rules. If they're working with chemicals, you have to explain what the chemicals are and how to deal with them. So you are an actual employer with all the responsibilities of an employer, but it's really not that difficult. The idea for greenskeeping is try to hire from a horticultural college. Now, one thing I've done as a little perk for my employees is that if they weren't really working 40 hours a week, I paid them for 40 hours a week anyway, because it doesn't cost me anything more. So effectively speaking, like when Eric Gallipo worked for us, his pay rate was effectively larger because if it was raining that day and absolutely no one was going to come to the greens, I sent him home, but he still got paid for the day. So it is something where you have some flexibility here. And again, it doesn't cost your club, effectively speaking, anything. But you do have to spend time, especially at the beginning, training them. And if there's anything new you haven't shown them before, you have to go over it.
But that's going to be impossible for this year. I have to apply for that in December then.
Yes, exactly. So this has to be planned. And so you got to kick your board, your local board. If they don't want to do it, I mean, if anyone's owned a business before, it should be no problem. If anyone's been an accountant before, it should be no problem. And even if you're not, you can learn all this stuff really in a day. They have all sorts of manuals and descriptions online. It's not difficult. And they have an online payroll calculator. I can even talk people through what the obligations are and people will understand, because some things haven't changed in like 50 years. I mean, the employer's contribution of CPP is always the same as the employee's contribution, and the EI contribution is 1.4 times the employee's contribution. And you add that all up in the taxes and you send it off once a month. And then you reconcile at the end of the year and you do the T4s.
Well, thanks for all that information. A little bit late for me now, but for next year. Thanks again.
I did found, but actually, talk to your board now. We'll get them set up for next year.
All right.
Okay. Jan is
okay. Ralph.
I have a question, Ralph. Is there a requirement that someone from the club has to be at the green at the same time? That used to be a part of the summer student thing.
Not necessarily, because you're required to train, and if you're satisfied that they are fully qualified, that they can handle it, that's fine. I would expect in the early days that you're going to have to be there all the time, just to make sure that silly stuff doesn't happen, and because they don't know where everything is and they don't know how to handle stuff, or something weird happens, So I would expect maybe the first month you have to be there, but when you're confident they can handle the routine tasks, then you only have to be there for the special tasks. Like if you're there for the mowings for the first month, you're probably okay. But if you're verticutting for the first time or the first couple of times, it'd be a really good idea if you were there. And if there's anything that requires any sort of specialized knowledge, it's good for you to be around. So again, you're not going to have to be around all the time, but you want to be around there for safety reasons. I think Charles, you're in it.
Yeah. Okay, I got a couple of things. At our club, for some reason, we don't allow one person to be alone on the green working. if he's working equipment. So we always have 2 people because you never know, something can happen. Believe me, you don't want to be sued. So just for safety reason. The second thing is, Deb asked me before I went to the symposium in Guelph, see if I could talk to the professor, see if he could do another like workshop during the summer. So anyway, the guy that did the last 2 workshops got promoted, but I asked him if he could do it. He said, "Oh yeah, I could do it in August, or middle of August, late August." That would probably cost us some money. So, John, hang on to your wallet. Do you want me? Is there enough interest in the greenskeeping community for us to all go back to Guelph again? Now, it was well done last couple of times we were there, and it'll probably do the same thing. And I would imagine that it would probably cost the club about $100 each for a one day. It would be from probably 10 till 4 on a Saturday. We would be doing a weekend. And I just asked him if he could do it, and he says yes, he could do it. So I didn't ask him anymore. I'll just have to get in touch with him. If you want me to carry on with it, I can carry on. I don't know how much it costs. I think the last time it cost us about $2,000 for the day, John. Am I correct?
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. So we would need to.
I did take this to the board, Charlie,
Yes.
after you'd said that he would do it. And the board gave us the approval to do it if we had the money in our greens budget, was the reply I had from the board. So
Okay.
we'll take
Okay.
it from there.
I can go ahead and ask him. I'll give him a call and ask him to give us a price, how much it would cost us. And then if we have a sort of a feeling of how many people going to attend it, we'll charge accordingly. So we don't go too far in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So is it okay for me to go ahead and do it, or?
John, what do you say?
Oh, yeah.
I
Go
would
ahead.
say-
It helps that your treasurer is a greenskeeper.
Yeah,
Charlie, it might be useful to get some
we can get enough interest in it.
sponsors for something like that from companies that normally deal with greens. They might pay part of it.
Yeah, well, that would. I don't know if Guelph University would appreciate us bringing our own company there to and pay us the money. I don't know. It's they're in there to make a living, to make money, and we're there to look. We're going there to learn, and they're going to teach us. So I don't know, but I'll ask them if we could do it.
Okay.
Could we approach Nutrien, which is one of the major fertilizer companies, and just ask them to sponsor or become an advertiser with OLBA and put them on our website, and just pitch it to them as assistance for our greenskeeping folks at 115 clubs.
I think what would be great, what I always thought that would be beneficial would be for a club somewhere that has all the equipment to have a workshop at their club. And we could go there, and we got enough knowledge among us that we could teach everybody else how to operate the machine and all that. Then we could get some sponsor. But for us to take some sponsor to Guelph University, it might be but you never know. I can find out.
Can we look at that option as well and find a club that's reasonably central?
Yeah.
Is it a matter of getting the sponsor to come to, or simply would they provide money to cover any shortfall that the clubs might have? I think that's really the angle, because if we all, I'm sure a lot of us are dealing with the same companies. In other words, we're buying the same fertilizer just from different companies. So there might be some way of finding out who everyone's dealing with for their product and being able to go to those companies and get them to put some money towards it.
Yeah.
My notion is, Cheryl, was indeed that the money comes directly to OLBA. And then we can disperse that to the clubs for anyone who wants to go to whatever it's called, Guelph.
Like I think if we went somewhere, let's say for instance something central, and we say, okay, we're going to have 50 greenskeeper come from 60 different lawn bowling green. If you want to come and display your lawnmower or whatever you sell for the greens, and then we could ask them for money because they would benefit from it.
Didn't we do that in Burlington a few years ago, Charlie?
Yeah, but I didn't have any sponsor. I just did it ourselves.
But I'm just saying that's kind of a bit of a central spot. And,
and we got all the equipment, so.
Yeah, you got all the equipment. See if we can't get sponsors to do that. That's
Okay,
yeah, we get probably Duke equipment just around the corner. They could come down and
sure.
And the fertilizer company.
Fertilizer company.
Okay,
Yep.
we have Mr. McGregor with his stand up.
Yeah, crabgrass.
Good luck.
And are there any non-chemical controls other than forced labor?
No, there is a chemical, and I don't know the name, but if you send me an email, I'll get it. I still got some in our tool shed, and you have a very short windows.
Yeah.
To spray that stuff. It's very powerful stuff. I think you only put about an ounce or two in about 50 gallons of water. It's very potent stuff, and you only have 2 weeks to spray that stuff. You can only spray that stuff to do any good when the forsythia are in bloom.
What's that in April?
Whatever's forsythia come in bloom.
Right around Easter time.
And
Charlie, what the stuff I use is called Dimension.
Yes, that's what it is. It's an
I noticed there-
What
It's an
did he say?
immersion.
What did he say? What did he call it?
The product's called Dimension. DIMENSION.
It kills.
Is it a listed product?
No, you have
Is
to
it
have,
a listed?
You have to have a license.
Yes, a number 9. Yeah, you have to have somebody to spray it, licensed to spray it.
I noticed at the Home Hardware there was a pre-emergence herbicide, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just for sale, you can buy it there.
Yeah, you probably. I don't know. All I know, I had some on my green about 4 years ago. 4 years ago, and I got an IPM certified, and he brought me some from the golf course, and we sprayed it, and that was the end of it. I haven't seen any more. But you have to do it. What it does, it kills all the seeds. Like that stuff reseed itself, and it grows like, well, it's a weed. But I mean, if you don't control it, it'll take over your green.
Oh, yeah.
And then you
So
try to pick.
this is a pre-emergent, I take it then, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you might try it. What David was saying. You might go to a garden store or something like that. They ask if they have anything for it, and they would do it.
Yeah, pre-emergence herbicide.
Yeah.
I noticed it on the shelf at Home Hardware.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, you can try that. It's not going to hurt. But I mean, you cannot do it in the summertime or in the fall. You can only do it in the spring.
Okay.
We are kind of coming up to about 4 o'clock. So
Yeah.
if there are any last questions people want to get in.
Okay. If there's no question, what I would say.
Tom Marley.
Hi, I've just got a question for the. Does anyone else have a problem with squirrels? I mean, it sounds like a stupid question, but where we're located at Bammy Beach, it's a major issue. These squirrels are causing incredible damage, short of trapping them and killing them or shooting them, which obviously we're not allowed to do. Is there anything that actually works to prevent squirrels coming onto the greens and destroying the green?
The area your greens.
Everybody got the same problem, and I don't think we can change that. All we have to do is adapt to it. And if you get in the morning, you see a hole, you just fill it up with sand and seed and hope for the best. Because we can't.
It's called aerating your green.
Unless if we get a bunch of cats or dogs, and they're going to ruin your green anyway. So they won't let us trap them. They won't let us shoot them. So what I do, always have a container full of sand, seed, and fertilizer. And when I see a hole, I just fill it up.
Yeah, but the problem with that, Charlie, we could fill 3 holes or 5 holes right now and go for lunch and come back at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's another 4 or 5 holes reappeared. They're really invasive down on the beach.
Mm.
There is an article in the Laws of the Sport, and the heading on that is Unforeseen Circumstances. If you have squirrels running around on the green during play, you are covered under the laws of the sport. Not that that helps, but there you go.
Okay,
we've got a question. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
It's regarding worms.
Yes.
And how to get rid of them?
No.
You can't. There's some material you can put on this. I think it's called corn.
Corn gluten.
Yeah, corn gluten. You can put that on there, and
He's got a phone.
It doesn't kill them, but they don't like crawling into it.
Isn't there
same as they don't like sand. They don't like to crawl in sand.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't there a copper sulfate or something?
copper sulfate will do it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there is a chemical that you can spray on. It's very dangerous, and I did it. I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and I haven't had much problem with worms since. I can't remember the name of it.
Okay. Yeah, Bayer was supposed to come up with a spray for that, and apparently they sort of got in trouble with the government because it was cruel. But if you can find out what it is, John, you let us know. And
yeah, I've got a bag of it in the shed yet.
Okay, let us know what it is, and we'll see if we can get going on it.
Okay.
Because it's getting to be a pest, yeah.
One thing I will mention for squirrels, having been in the pet industry for a long time, is there are products that are based on pepper that people spread on lawns, basically to keep squirrels away. But you would need massive quantities of this, and I have no idea if it would negatively affect the green. You could spread it around the edges of the green, but it is something where it would not be hard for a squirrel to leap over it, and I have no idea if it would negatively affect the green at all. So
the product is Critter Fixer, and that's that pepper based spray.
Get a big tomcat that will and keep feeding him. He'll stick around and he'll chase the squirrel.
Yeah, I think we have 10 minutes hand up.
We're just about finished that. Now, what I would say is make your plan right now. Make your plan and stick by it. If you don't have a plan, how do you know you're going to succeed? Because you don't know where you're going. Okay, make your plan. This is what I'm going to do. Write it down. And next year or next winter, you look around and says, okay, this worked very well for me. I'm going to carry doing it. Or it didn't work for me. I'm going to try something else. But if we go there blind and we have no idea what we're going to do, guess what's going to happen? Nothing. So make a plan, stick to it, and hopefully we'll all see you on the green in June and July, and your green will be all nice and green and running 12 second and nice draw on both sides, and everybody will be happy. Okay?
Can you get the conference going in a central location too? Will somebody look into that?
I'll have to get with Deb. She's the Greens chairman for Ontario. She's the one that has all the money. So,
Okay.
but
All
I'm
right.
sure we can come up with something. I'd like to have something in the fall because it's very important how we close our green in the fall.
Yeah,
What
well,
what
also
we do?
the summer has tournaments, so it's not a good idea in the
No,
summer.
you cannot do much in the summer. What you do in the fall will determine how good your greens are going to be the year after.
Okay.
Like I bet you, I'm going to cut my green 3 times or 4 times till June 1st, May the 1st, and roll them. And I can promise you that it'll be running on the stamp meter 12 feet because I just looked at it and last year when we opened our green, where was it? Roll, it says the 29. Cut and roll both green. The south green was running 12 feet in the stamp meter, and the north green was running 13 on the stamp meter. So around 12 seconds. That was before we opened. It was still in April. Because in the fall we verticut, we aerate it, we top dress, put them to sleep for the winter.
Now, we have bunches of people in the queue for questions. I don't know if you want to take these, but we will have to wrap up eventually because we have the board meeting at 5. But do you want to go for a couple more questions before we wrap up?
I'm fine. I got no problem.
Okay, so
got nowhere to go.
So we've got Thelma, John, and Ted, and then Mr. McGregor. So Thelma first. Thelma, you're on.
Thelma, you're on.
Okay, your hand is up, so you're not asking a question. I'll go to John.
Charlie, the name of that worm medicine, I call it.
Yeah.
It's called Force.
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 And you don't know the company that handled it, eh?
No, not. I got this through a farmer, and like I say, it's highly potent. Keep off the green for 3 days.
Yeah, you probably went across the border because every time I ask the chemical companies if there's anything for ants and dewworm, they said sorry, we can't sell it. So
yeah, well, that's what I say. This came through a farmer, so
yes, yeah. Well, that's good. I'll try to find out where it is. Okay, anybody else?
We've got Ted and then Mr. McGregor.
Yeah, Ralph, just a comment to you. I noticed that Nancy and Brad just joined. I looked at my watch and I realized it was 4 o'clock, which meant they were most likely operating under the old time for this. And I think they may need a way in which they can watch this.
This is being
and there may be others, but just an observation.
This is being recorded right now, and it will be on our YouTube channel, usually within 24 to 48 hours. And we'll have links all around on all the Facebook pages and also on the web page as well. So, but it will be on the OLBA YouTube page. Usually it takes about maybe a day to get it up because it's a big file. So, Mr. McGregor?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on deep tine aeration and what times of year it would be useful?
The deep tine aeration is a good way for, how can I put this? What it does, it'll break the hard surface. It makes a hole. The tine goes down about 9 to 12 inches. And apparently it sort of wiggle when it gets to the bottom. So, but it only make a 1/4 of an inch hole on the top. And you don't need to top dress. And you can bowl the same day. It's not gonna bother you. As long as your green is fairly firm. But when he comes down to do your green, he'll ask you to water the green the night before. I do it. I used to do it in the fall after everything was done. But last year I done it in June because we had the Canadian Championship, and I just wanted to make sure that if it was going to rain, that it would drain properly. And he told me the time that's the right time of the year for us to do it. You know, in June and the first part of July, that would eliminate most of the localized dry area. And I was really pleased. I'm going to get it done again this year, but it's not cheap. I think he charged about $500 a green, and we have 2 greens, so it cost me about $1,000, but it's worth it.
Okay. We have Jan with her hand up.
I have just a question, Charlie.
Yeah.
Is slicing as effective or as helpful as the deep tine?
Well, the slicing is good. Anything that put holes in the green is good. The water and the fertilizer and everything will go down to the root zone. Anything you put holes in there is good. But the deep tine, the deep tine goes down deeper than anything else we use. Like when you aerate in the fall with the regular aerator, the hollow tine, it goes about three inches at the most, 3.5. But this time it goes down. The deep tine goes down 9 inches, and that will eliminate most of the compaction in your green. It will get the water where you want it. It'll get the food, the fertilizer where you want it, and great. I cannot see any negative thing about the deep tine.
Okay. So we have David.
Yes, I have a slicer machine, and I find it roughs up the green. It's not near as nice as the deep tine.
No.
I don't think it'd be nice to bowl after you use it. I would have to run the mower over just to sort of pack it back down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't find it that great.
But like I said, anything that puts holes in the green that cut through the tash and everything, then it's good for the green. Like it's then the water doesn't stay on top. The trouble is if you don't verticut regularly, you got tash on there, and every time you put your water will stay in the top part of it, and most of it the sun will evaporate it, so it's not doing any good unless if it gets underneath the tash layer. So what it was very important that we verticut. You cannot do enough verticut as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, we have Chris.
Yeah, just a quick follow-on to David's question. Do you recommend following with the mower when we do the verticut? So you do the verticut, and then it roughs up like the lawn, as David mentioned, and then we're passing, like we're following it along with the mower?
Definitely. What we do is we verticut, then we have a garden tractor, and we have a leaf, whatever it is,
lawn sweeper.
A sweeper, yeah. And we sweep the grass, and after that we cut with the lawnmower.
Okay. Sorry.
And if we got time, we roll them. Go ahead.
Another quick question. I just jumped in there just because we were talking about that. But I was one of the old people that didn't get the message that you guys were meeting earlier than 4 o'clock. So, but you may have covered this. But in terms of the polishing, like I'm reading a document that was drafted for Milton Lawn Bowling Club that I found on the web, and there was a reference to polishing where you're adding sand to the greens, and it may allow for speeding up the greens. So can you just like summarize your position on like applying sand to the greens to help with the speed and consistency, I guess?
Well, your sand will give you the firmness, and but I don't put sand on the green during the playing season. I do it in the fall.
Okay.
What we do, when we aerate and we take the plugs out, I figure that we take about 5 tons of plugs out. Then we take it right out and we put another 5 tons of sand.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
And
Now, one quick thing, Thelma, if you can't hear us, okay.
So anyway, and about rolling, we roll our grain at least twice a week, at least. When we had the Canadian, it were 10 days. We bowled 10 days steady, and we roll after every game. We roll in the morning after the second game and third game. So we're rolling the green 3 times a day. And it didn't really hurt the green at all. They were just as good running after 10 days than they were the first day. Well, Dave was there. Dave was.
Yeah, I agree, Charlie.
And so it didn't hurt. The polisher doesn't hurt. As long as you don't do it the same way all the time. If you do it if you're going to roll your green, you got to make sure that you change direction. Because if you do it in every direction, you're going to get some ruts or something like that. Because it's not that it's really that heavy, but even with your lawnmower is also a roller. I bet you that the lawnmower itself weighs about 150 pounds, so it rolls the green. Then if you use your roller at the same time, sooner or later you're going to have to aerate, or you're going to get compaction. But
the average weight of a lawnmower is about 235 to 260.
There you go. So
depends on the model.
Yeah. But if you were going to mow your lawn the same way all the time, you would find out that you would have ruts. So that's why the greenskeeper and the golf course, they use the clock. One day they clock from 12 to 6, then 1 to 7, and blah blah blah. So they go around the clock. They never cut the same direction. So the same with rolling and mowing. Hope this helps.
Okay, we have Carl. You're muted, Carl. Carl, down at the bottom of the screen, click on the little microphone to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes.
In October or November, when we had that big windstorm, a tree came down across our greens and made a nice little indention. Do you have any good ways of how to bring it back up to normal besides cutting it out and packing it?
Were you
about 2 feet long?
Yeah. Would you be able to save the sod or?
Yeah, we might be able to if we, I guess, do it smartly. I would think you would have to take the sod out and then maybe put topsoil down and then
Yes,
put it back on.
Don't put topsoil.
No.
Don't put topsoil. Try to find out what the rest of the green is like. You probably got about a 80-20 mix on your green. So I would use the same type of mixture to fill up that groove where you're going to go than the rest of the green. You have the same type of filling. And what I would do was try to cut the sod out, make sure you keep it moist, and then fill it. Put about 2 inches. Get a tamp it down. You don't want to have it because it's going to go down.
Right.
And when you put that sod on, make sure you get it level, and make sure that the sod is slightly lower than the rest of the green.
Okay.
Okay, and then you can fill that up with sand on top, like gradually, not
okay.
Okay, because eventually it's gonna go down. Doesn't matter. It'll probably go down about half an inch, but if your sod that you're going to put on top of the filling, if it's higher than the rest of the green, the first time you're going to cut your green, you're going to scalp it.
Okay.
So you got to keep it low.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
We have Ken. Ken had a question.
Yes, my question. Yeah, my question deals with fertilizing. Basically, just how often do you do it during the season? And in particular, what is the ratio or that you would apply in the spring once your greens get open?
I fertilize before we open our green. I would probably around the 15th of April, I will be putting the fertilizer after our verticut. I it's about 80 bags. Bags are 20 kilogram per bag, and they suggested that I put 1 bag per green. So what I do is I fill up, I put the whole bag into the spreader. I got a cyclone spreader, and I go one way, and I make sure that I don't use more than half, and then cross it the other way after. So then everything is covered. And that would, if it's a slow releasing fertilizer, it should last you a month.
And what is that? What's the ratio?
You need the number, like the ratio of nitrogen.
Yeah.
What did I say? I got it written up here somewhere.
So then during the season, do you change the type? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The first one I use is it's a micro. It's a Nutrite micro, very very fine, and I've got 12-30-08. And then June, July, and September I use 18-18. If I use granular. But because we're so busy in Burlington, in June, July, and August, I use liquid fertilizer 14-24. But if you got time, and the ideal thing would be to only use half a bag, but do it every second week. But that's more time wasted. So, but if you use that micro and it's slow releasing, you're good for a month.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're probably gonna have to call the meeting now. Now, just a reminder, this will be posted on YouTube. I know we had a person who's got some issues with audio and so on, but unfortunately we cannot troubleshoot that during the call. But again, all this should be posted on YouTube, hopefully within 48 hours, and that will be publicized. But thank you everyone participating, and thank you for all your questions. Remember, you can always contact Charles or Deb in the course of our process and ask further questions. And the Greens Committee is very happy to give you assistance as you go along throughout the year. So thank you very much, and we'll see you on the Greens.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph.